Hi there, your Weather Watch continues. I'm Emily Vukovic, and here are today's developing stories. We are in storm watch for what's happening throughout Atlantic Canada. The January thaw continues, and the next one to watch, well, we're talking about another system moving in for the coast of BC. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Chrissy Van. All right, thanks so much, Chrissy. Well, the unofficial rainfall totals look like this. Places like Squamish have already picked up 131 millimeters of rain. Vancouver, Metro Vancouver, 58 millimeters. West Vancouver, close to 100 millimeters of rain. Now, the good news is that we are going to be seeing a bit of a break come Friday. Temperatures hovering around 9 degrees, so even slightly above seasonal averages. And we'll see a bit of a break. Look at a dry spell. Over the weekend, we are going to be seeing some showers moving through, but it's certainly not going to be as wet as it has been. We are going to be seeing a drying trend as we get into next week. All right, now across the Prairie provinces, we have seen a significant warm up, and this dog is loving it. In through Saskatchewan, just having the best time enjoying the snow, or what's left of it. Look at these record-breaking temperatures. So mild. In Maple Creek, 12.2 yesterday. In through Saskatoon, almost 7 degrees. Now, we do have a little bit of light snow on the way come Friday into Saturday, about 5 centimeters. Some areas could pick up closer to 15 centimeters. Speaking of a lot of snow for Atlantic Canada, we're in storm watch. It's the calm before the storm. Taking a look at St. John's, you can see a little bit of sunshine in the forecast for today. Temperatures hovering around seasonal, but we do have this developing low, and it is going to be bringing in some very active weather potentially over the weekend. So starting today and into tomorrow, we're going to be seeing kind of lingering snow from a trough that's pushing through with a little bit of sea enhancement. Friday overnight into Saturday, the low really starts to intensify, and we are going to be seeing heavy amounts of snow, and with that, it is going to be blowing and drifting, causing blizzard-like conditions through parts of Newfoundland. So looking at the snowfall forecast, anywhere between 20 to 30 centimeters of snow through St. John's, possibly even more. The forecast has us potentially reaching up to about 60 centimeters of snow. That's kind of where we're peaking out. Now, looking at the temperature for this afternoon, not bad. We're looking at -3 with some sunshine. Charlottetown seeing some light snow. That's that trough that's in place. It's going to be moving across Quebec. I'm Emily Vukovic. Your Weather Watch continues. We're taking a quick look right across the country where we're seeing a lack of active weather across the Prairie provinces again throughout the day today. More rain on the coast of BC and in through Atlantic Canada. Well, we are in storm watch. Well, we have a very impactful weekend system moving its way up the U.S. eastern seaboard. We are going to be seeing a winter storm for the Avalon Peninsula. The potential is there for significant amounts of snow. And when I say significant amounts of snow, I mean like 20 to 30, possibly 50, maybe even 60 centimeters of snow through St. John's. Not only are we going to be dealing with heavy snow, we have got the risk for incredibly gusty conditions, and that is going to give us blizzard-like conditions, poor visibility, blowing and drifting snow. More in detail on that in just a moment. But first, into next week for Ontario, we have got a very messy mix on the way through the lower Great Lakes. We're going to see rain, the potential of freezing rain, and possibly even some heavy snow. Soggy conditions persist to the west. We have more rain on the coast for today, but tomorrow we do start to dry out. And then into next week, we're actually going to see a drier pattern. Freezing levels have now started to drop. We are going to be seeing some snow through Whistler. So if you do have ski plans this weekend, the forecast is certainly going to be much better. And the avalanche risk is certainly getting, it's getting better. That's for sure. We're going to be seeing back to kind of considerable and into moderate over the next couple of days. All right, let's take a look now at Share Your Weather. Your Weather Watch starts with a beautiful shot of St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm Emily Vukovic, and we are in storm watch. All right, this powerful low is going to be skirting through Newfoundland over the weekend. Starting Friday evening, we'll start to see the winds really pick up through St. John's, through the Avalon. We are going to be seeing a lot of snow with this and blizzard-like conditions. And with that, let's turn things over to Chris Murphy. Starting to drop as freezing levels drop, but tons of rain over the last couple of days, making the situation not great to be on rivers and lakes. 95 millimeters of rain for West Vancouver, staying very consistent with our forecast. We have an additional 15 to 30 millimeters of rain on the way. Western shores to Tofino, we're looking at about 15 to 30 millimeters of additional rainfall. Now, across the country, we are seeing that warm air continue. Let's take a look if these conditions will last into the weekend in your Long Ranger. Yeah, the answer is pretty quick. No. No, they are not going to last. I mean, Calgary, we have been seeing daytime highs around 10, 11 degrees, and by Saturday, we're looking at a daytime high of 0. We've got some light snow coming in right across the Prairie provinces as we get into the end of the weekend, in through the coast of BC. Temperatures staying seasonal, even slightly above, but we do have another system coming in. But in general, it is going to be a much drier pattern next week than it was this previous week. So looking at the east, we do have that system for the Avalon moving through St. John's throughout the weekend and through Quebec and Ontario. Not a bad forecast. Temperatures are going to be relatively mild. Toronto staying consistent, just hovering above that freezing mark. Hi there, your Weather Watch continues. I'm Emily Vukovic, and here are today's developing stories. We are in storm watch for Atlantic Canada. The January thaw continues right across the prairies, and the next one to watch for BC. More on that in a moment, but first, we are in storm watch. Kind of the calm before the storm through St. John's in Newfoundland. We are going to be seeing temperatures hovering around -4 today with some sunshine, but we do have a very powerful Atlantic system on the way Friday into Saturday, lingering through Sunday and even into the beginning of next week, bringing in heavy amounts of snow and blizzard-like conditions. Winds could be gusting upwards of 100 kilometers an hour, making travel just a nightmare. So if you can avoid travel this weekend through the Avalon, through St. John's, all the way up through the Bonavista Vista, we would suggest doing so. But if you need to get out today, because we're looking at -4 through St. John's and lots of sunshine. Now throughout Ontario, we do have a fairly weak system coming through this weekend, but residents are certainly enjoying the January thaw. Here's Rachel. Thanks, Rachel. We are going to stay above that freezing mark. We do have some showers moving in late day Friday. And then through Saturday, it's going to be kind of on and off. And then we could see another round. But we do have that weak ridge, mild, fair conditions throughout the day Saturday and into Sunday. Now, through Calgary, Alberta, we have seen some really beautiful conditions. Your Weather Watch continues. I'm Emily Vukovic, and the January thaw, it is still on. Today, we're going to see daytime highs around 6 degrees through Calgary, 3 through Regina, 0 through Winnipeg. Through Atlantic Canada, it's going to be the calm before the storm because we are in storm watch. Winter storm arriving Friday overnight and into Saturday. We are going to be seeing significant amounts of snow, blizzard-like conditions with very gusty winds. And with more on that, here's Chris Murphy. Yeah, wet and soggy conditions are going to continue through today, but as Chris was mentioning, freezing levels, they are going to be dropping, which will help with the snow that's coming in for the weekend and into early next week. Now, the January thaw continues with all that mild Pacific air cruising its way right across the Rockies, so the prairies enjoy another day of warm-up, but by the end of the weekend, we are expecting to see some snow. Throughout Ontario, we do have a fairly messy mix coming in early next week. We could see some scattered showers both Saturday and Sunday, but the bulk of the system coming in for Monday and into Tuesday. We could see some rain, we could see some freezing rain, and we could be dealing with some wet snow. All right, thanks so much for that. Okay, through Halifax today, we're seeing a daytime high of 5, bit of a rain-snow mix. So winter weather, that's in your forecast today. The beautiful calm before the storm. I'm Emily Vukovic, starting off your Weather Watch, taking a look at St. John's. This is a beautiful webcam we have showing blue sky. Temperatures today expected to be at about -4, but seeing some sun. We are, however, in storm watch. Winter storm watch in place, stretching from the Bonavista Vista through Clarenville all the way through St. John's, through the Avalon Peninsula for significant snow this weekend. Some of the forecast models have been in disagreement. They've been kind of wishy-washy, going back and forth. Well, now looks as though we are set to receive at least 20 to 30 centimeters. Some of the forecast models want to bring in as much as 60 centimeters of snow, so it is going to be incredibly active. Now, through Quebec this afternoon, we do have a little bit of light snow in the forecast. We still have that trough in place, so fairly widespread light snow. Temperatures hovering around that freezing mark, and the January thaw, it continues throughout Ontario. That trend will persist as we get into the weekend, and we've got a system on the way that is going to be bringing us some rain as we get into the weekend and into early next week. Speaking of rain, let's check in with Chrissy Van. All right, thanks so much, Chrissy. And here's some of the rainfall totals. It's been drenching. I mean, we have seen about 95 millimeters through West Vancouver, 131 millimeters through Squamish, and about 58 millimeters through downtown Vancouver. Freezing levels are dropping today to about 1,000 meters, which is great news for people that love snow because it's going to be coming back to the mountains. All right, let's take a look now at your next one. Coming into Ontario early next week, we are going to be seeing a very messy mix coming in. We're going to see some snow, the potential for rain, and some freezing rain, as well as ice pellets. So Monday and into Tuesday could be very dicey. Looking at your temperatures, just hovering slightly above that freezing mark, and that is where we're going to be seeing that likely messy mix moving into the area. Okay, well, if you want to escape some winter weather, why not head south? This afternoon, we are going to see some really great conditions for traveling through Montreal, Toronto, hitting 4 degrees and some sunshine. A little bit of active weather as you work your way down through the U.S. eastern seaboard, but by the time you get to Florida for the weekend, it looks great. Orlando getting up to 28 degrees, tons of sunshine. Miami, 28, beautiful sun. Naples, 26, and then through Clearwater, lots of sunshine. Daytime high on Friday of 25. Well, this time of year, if you're really getting into the winter spirit, skiing is a great way to get out and just enjoy the outdoors and exercise. Lots of snow on the ground still throughout eastern Canada. We are seeing more snow throughout the weekend and into early next week for coastal areas of BC. Freezing levels have dropped, so that's really good news. Whistler in line to see about 5 to 15 centimeters of snow. If you're planning on heading up to the North Shore Mountains, well, the avalanche risk has gone down, which is great news. Time now for the long-range forecast. Joining me, meteorologist Dr. Doug Gillum. This is probably going to be one of the last days that we can highlight this incredible warmth, Doug.
Yes, early spring-like weather in many areas this weekend. Double digits in parts of southern Ontario.
That's remarkable.
In contrast to Whitehorse with a high of minus 25. Quite a contrast to last weekend where high temperatures were above freezing both Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
Now, a pattern change is on the way for next week.
Okay.
Now, often pattern changes are dramatic. This one, not so much. We're just going to see a slow slide back to winter. And by the time we get to the middle of next week, these temperatures still above seasonal, but we are slowly cooling down.
Okay, well, taking a look at what we can see and expect for active weather, I know there's a couple of things you want to focus on, but can we touch on this?
Yeah, we certainly will touch on that. But first we'll look at the prairies. We don't have an organized system, but we have an extended period of light snow, and that's going to add up by the end of Monday. Take a look at the accumulations that we'll see across the prairies. Locally 5 to 15 centimeters, including Brandon over to Prince Albert. But the more organized system will be tracking up the U.S. East Coast. Rain spreads into southern Ontario, and it now looks like temperatures are going to be just cold enough to mix with or even change over to wet snow. Still a lot of uncertainty because just 1 degree can make the difference between a cold rain and an impactful snow. So Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, stay tuned for updates to your forecast. And then the system tracks into the Maritimes with heavy rain to the south, a rather messy mix further to the north.
Wow, okay, so eastern Canada for the next week or so, we're certainly keeping our eye on a lot of stuff.
And we'll keep an eye on Newfoundland on Wednesday. This next system tracks into southern Ontario on Wednesday. A very quiet week, much drier week ahead for the south coast of BC. Behind this system, we do see a pattern change, and here's the dominant pattern for the month of February. February tries to make up for January.
Well, today's certainly going to be the calm before the storm. We have some very active weather moving in through parts of Atlantic Canada. This afternoon, we do have light snow in the forecast, about 5 centimeters through parts of New Brunswick and in through Nova Scotia. But Newfoundland sitting pretty, -3 through St. John's and seeing lots of sunshine. In through Summerside, we're looking at -2 and Bathurst -4. Now, this weekend, things are going to change. Environment Canada has issued a winter storm watch for St. John's, the Bonavista, anywhere through the Avalon because of a very significant system that is going to be moving its way up the U.S. eastern seaboard and bringing in some very intense weather come Friday into Saturday. So for today, this is that widespread snow that I was mentioning, about 5 centimeters, a little bit of sea enhancement, and then things will really start to strengthen and move in Friday into Saturday. And then because of the wind direction, look at the wind barbs. They're coming in right from the north. It is going to stay blustery as we get into early next week. So the heaviest snowfall Friday into Saturday, still continuing to see some snow for Sunday. The winds, once we start getting into the reds, like the 120 kilometers an hour, that's when we're thinking, okay, blizzard-like conditions, poor visibility on the roadways, blowing and drifting snow. It is certainly not going to be a great time for travel this weekend. So if you can avoid it, if you can go today, do that because it is going to worsen Friday into Saturday. And the snowfall forecast, some forecast models want to actually give us 50 to 60 centimeters of snow, but it looks as though right now, generally speaking, 30 centimeters is likely. Now, if you can't convince your husband, your wife, or your kids to do it for you, you're stuck shoveling. Here are a couple of ways to make it just a little bit easier. First thing, make sure you dress appropriately. We have to dress in layers. When you're shoveling, let's face it, it is hard work. It's like a workout. You sweat. You want to be able to take off the layers so you're not overheating and making yourself really uncomfortable. Use an ergonomically correct snow shovel, not like those little plastic frozen ones that you can buy for your kids at the toy store. Plastic weighs less than metal, but make sure it has one with a really good edge and like a bend in it so you're not constantly bending over as much as you can to shovel that snow. Do not try to shovel into the wind. Don't do it. Hurts. Flies back, hits you in the face. It's like an adult face wash. Don't move snow twice. Totally violates my own rule. Why bother shoveling when it's still snowing? Let's just wait until it's all over, like say April. Shovel several times throughout the heavy snowfall, especially if the snow is like that wet, heavy stuff. And it's vastly easier to clear the driveway if you get rid of the snow before someone drives on it. So shovel before someone drives on it. You can get a snow shovel. Makes it look pretty easy. I don't know, I don't have one, but it looks pretty cool.